Welcome to the Tabletop Gaming Magazine podcast. I'm Chris Eggett, the editor of the magazine.
And I'm Charlie Pettit, the online editor.
And we've got a new issue of the magazine coming out this Friday.
Yay!
Yeah. So on Friday the 22nd of October, you'll be able to pick up a shiny new issue of Tabletop Gaming, which includes a huge and spooky Halloween RPG scenario for Vaesen, which is the Free League spooky one.
Like folklore one.
Yeah. It's from Mythic Britain, which we helped them announce last year.
Yep, it's one of the shows.
And the scenario is written by Graham Davies, who you will recognise from Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay and other things like that. He's a big deal. And it's all about. It's called Old Meg, and it's a scenario all about the stone women of English folklore, mostly English folklore anyway. Which the thing is, I can't really. This is one of my favourite bits of English folklore, and I can't actually tell you too much about it because then you'll know some things. I'll be like spoiling the scenario.
Oh yes, of course.
If you know too much.
I was thinking because you don't know about it, or what?
No. I really,
let's not
I
spoil
really
the
love
ending.
It. I really love it. Yes, it's all set in Gloucestershire, and so you've got some. There's a funny bit of text in here about people not being able to understand the accents and stuff like that. I think that's quite good. It's a really jolly time. If you've not played Vaesen before, it's a Year Zero engine game. So that's the classic kind of Free League roll a load of d6s by adding like a attribute and a skill that's relevant together. You roll that many dice. Sixes mean you win. Hey. And that's about it. And it's sort of a nice investigative time. So we've got that. We've also got Alien Fate on Nostromo, which is Nostromus?
Oh, don't look at me. I don't know.
It's a real ship. A real alien ship. Anyway, which is the Ravensburger game. We speak to Scott Rogers about that, who you know from the fact that he made God of War and Pac-Man World on the PS1.
They're two very different games.
They are very different games. They're quite,
God of War is pretty epic.
And we've got a very funny interview with the designer of That Time You Killed Me.
It's really cool.
It's just a very funny interview. It's one of those ones where I left it as just the pure Q&A because the answers are so good. You don't need my opinions, just because it's just really funny. So that's what's in the magazine. What we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk a bit about Vaesen, a little bit anyway.
Yeah.
Kind of already touched on it, but we're going to talk a little bit more about that. We're going to talk about Necromolds.
Oh, I'm so excited about Necromolds.
Which you may remember as the Play-Doh squishing wargame. We played that.
How to make Charlie play a wargame?
Yeah.
There's Play-Doh Charlie. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah, it was a big hit. I took it away all the weekend as well to play with some friends we were visiting. Again, a massive hit. We'll come to that in a second.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. It's really fun.
We're also going to talk about what I'm calling Big Catan.
Big Catan.
But it's Catan 3D. It's a £300 box of Catan. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then we'll also talk about Charlie's new journey into being the very best. She's going to catch them all.
I'm so excited.
Right. She's getting into Digimon. That's not right. She's doing Pokemon cards. She's really into it now. I'm
buzzing. It's been like 2 weeks and I've spent so much money.
Yeah. So we'll talk a bit about
110% in.
We'll talk a bit about Charlie's new habits and
Charlie's hyperfixation once again.
Yeah. So let's start at the top. So the Vaesen scenario.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. I like, first of all, like scenario-wise, I like that we put another scenario in because last time the Call of Cthulhu one was one of my favourites. And I've not played Call of Cthulhu, I've not played Vaesen, but these make me want to.
Yeah.
Like absolutely. I read them and I'm like, this is really interesting. Like I wonder if could I DM this? Maybe I could DM this. I kind of want to.
Yeah.
So it might be one that I try over the course of Halloween. That'll be the excuse. It's like, well, we've got to do something Halloween-y. Let's do this Vaesen scenario.
That's right.
Because it's really interesting. It's one obviously you can't read if you're not going to DM it. If you're going to play it, don't read it. But it's worth a read. Like,
yeah. Yeah,
Just in general.
even if you were just thinking, shall I pick up Vaesen or
Yeah,
not?
yeah.
This is better than, to be honest with you, this is better than any of our reviews of it. Sorry, Richard. Because it's the actual thing. It's the actual.
The actual thing does speak for itself. I'll give it that, but still.
It says it's 14 pages in the magazine, so it's a big chunky thing. It's you really get into it. I feel we maybe did the Call of Cthulhu scenario, which was very exciting and really nice because of its size. Maybe we did it a slight disservice by, I think we did that in 10 pages. I think if we gave them a bit more space, it would have been even better.
Yeah. The thing is, though, I think once you start designing a scenario, you can put so much into it.
Yeah.
So it's the filling in available space, isn't it? Like if you gave me 500 pages in one scenario, right. I'd be like, ha!
Yeah.
Great news.
It did come out as like a really the Call of Cthulhu scenario did come out as like a really tight scenario. So I quite like that. I
love it. It's a standout for me. It's one of my favourite things that we've done. I've still not even played it. Just from reading through, I'm like, yes.
Yeah,
I need to learn the system.
I do have a great sadness that I'm always going to have to GM the things we put in the magazine because I'd quite like to just play this because it's really good, and also because Vaesen's
still play Vaesen.
I still can.
Get yourself a DM for
everything
Vaesen
else.
in general. Like for Mythic Britain.
Yeah.
Or even, normal Vaesen, but Mythic Britain is the one that's...
I've read all the Vaesen books now.
Okay, definitely Mythic Britain then.
Yeah, I've read one of them.
Hold on.
So this is exclusive to us until it gets published in Mythic Britain. So that'll be, I think it's early next year. It's coming out.
Nice.
I think that's right.
Do you want to give like an overview of what Vaesen is in terms of?
Yeah, I suppose that would help. Yeah. So Vaesen is a investigative game of you and a group of your buddies. You're all part of a society. You're all people. You're Thursday's children. You've all got the sight. So you are able to see these weird and wonderful creatures of folklore that everyone else just thinks just don't exist, but still suffer from the effects of. And this could be anything from a spooky ghost that's haunting a pub, or it could be, in our case, just a spooky lady.
A spooky lady.
Haunting an area. And the general premise of Vaesen is that you are going to take you and your gang of friends out to investigate what the problem is. You've been invited in a sort of Scooby-Doo kind of way.
Yeah.
You
receive a letter.
You receive a letter, and then you are whisked away to that part of the countryside, usually the countryside, where you are basically abandoned, and you have to work your way out to what's going on. And then there'll often be sort of like a murder mystery element to it, and then there's also a working out like what kind of Vaesen it is, what kind of folklore you're dealing with, and then finding out the way to finish it off. And I'm going to level with you here, a little spoiler for you. You're not going to kill it by killing it. You're not going to win by like punching it to death. It's not going to work. It's a supernatural being. What you have to do is instead you have to discover the history and story behind the Vaesen, and either help it find its resting place in some cases, or perform a kind of rite of some kind to complete it. And often in doing these rites, and I think this often gets compared to Call of Cthulhu for this, there is often a sense of like very normal people like having to give something up in having to do that. So if you're looking for like a fun twisty-turny mystery to play this Halloween, you best run on down to WH Smith's or wherever you buy your copy.
Friendly Local Game Store.
Friendly Local Game Store.
The nice thing that I like is that obviously Vaesen itself is Scandinavian folklore.
Yes.
So incredibly interesting, but also there's not as much sense of recognition. Mythic Britain is like, right, we're taking the British folklore and we're going to do this. So there were elements in this that I was like, oh, I wonder if that's this. And you read on, you're like, oh, it is this. It could well be this. It does have that link because they all have the same link. But it was really nice. There's a little bit of familiarity and a little bit of like, oh, that's cool. I could actually go to that area.
Yeah. I'm going to say a weird thing here. It's a bit like the Wingspan expansion for Europe. Where it's just like...
I know what you mean.
Yeah, because my review of that was literally like, I liked it because I could seabirds in my garden that are in the game now.
Ticket to Ride Europe is another.
I mean, I guess so. Yeah,
we just like localization. We like a little nod to.
Yeah, you like to see it. You like to see things you recognise, especially when it's done in this way, which is unearthing something that a lot of people don't necessarily know about or already know about in a sort of tangential way, because it's not it's not like classic fantasy from Britain. It's not Tolkien.
Yeah. No.
It's the folklore of Britain, which is very different, a very different thing, and kind of like a little bit rawer in lots of ways, and also a lot softer.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of really interesting. So hopefully that's convinced everyone to go out and buy this fine magazine.
Convince me.
Yeah.
I'd buy.
Yeah. Me too. On that, I'm just going to deviate wildly.
Go on.
Because I've got this right here, which is I've recently been getting back into Call of Cthulhu.
Love it.
Because I've been playing the solo game, solo book, which is Alone Against the Tides.
There's a solo book.
Yeah.
Can I call post-played dibs?
Yeah, you
Thanks.
can. And it's really good.
I feel like I definitely should have known that, but
yeah, I think you did.
I probably did.
But that's
There's
okay.
only so much room in my brain on
No, it's fine.
Tuesday morning.
It's fine. It's pretty jolly. It's a really good time, and it has reminded me that I actually really like the Call of Cthulhu system. So that's a percentile roll under system. It's similar to the Mutant Year Zero system in the sense that it's just not D&D or D&D like. And so, it's like very straightforward.
Yeah.
And there's things like, so in the solo game, so if you want to pass a test in Call of Cthulhu, all you do is you roll under your skill level, which is expressed as a percentage. The DM can ask for it to be a harder roll for you, in which case it will be a quarter or a half or a quarter, sorry. So like a quarter, rolling under a quarter of it will be extremely difficult. But like that's like actually quite an elegant solution, because what it means is there's no like modifiers in that way. Not really. And then playing it through on the solo game reminded me how much I like that. And even you feel a bit silly sometimes making some of the funny choices you made. And also in my first game I rolled a couple of like ones, which are like critical successes.
Oh, good.
Because we're rolling under. Which is
my little Dean brain would struggle.
I know, but the thing is actually it feels quite natural once you get into it. And after that, I went and picked up the Scritch Scratch. Which is a I'm hoping to run this with my friends, and this is a one shot. Yeah. Written on an aeroplane on the way to a convention because someone had dropped out.
Oh my god!
It's by Lynn Hardy, who has written spooky books, I think.
Nice.
Someone will correct me that I've really, really done her in by not mentioning all of the names of all of her books. But it's a nice. It's an English folklore. An English folklore setting again. And very similar to the Vaesen setting we've got here.
Oh, cool!
So I thought it was worth mentioning that Scritch Scratch, yeah, and it's about hearing things in the walls, isn't it?
It's about hearing things in the walls, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
You know how it is.
I know how
it is. You know how it is when the green man needs to be appeased by something. You know what it's like. You know what he's like, the green man. Yeah. Speaking of green men.
Necromolds!
Let's talk about Necromolds. What is Necromolds, Charlie?
It's like the most wonderful thing. So, I need you to picture Play-Doh, right? Lump of Play-Doh.
I'm doing it.
That's the amount that you're allowed. That's how many minions and such all need to be made out of that one stack of Play-Doh. Mm-hmm. And then they give you these little books that have little moulds in them. And you take out some of your Play-Doh from your pile and you squish it in and you squish it together, and then out pops your little model that you use that sits on your little thing as your warrior. And then you just carry on going until you've used up all the Play-Doh. So you might go like, right, I'm going to go for 3 big ones because I think the aggressive ones are better. But then you've only got 3 because you've used up all your Play-Doh on that one. And then you attack, right? And the best thing about this is that once you win your fight, you have these little rings that you use to then smush other, like, the opponent that you've murdered. This is delightful. The sheer joy, of being like, I made that. The 10 minutes at the beginning where you're like squishing everything together and it comes out really nicely. If you don't scrimp on the Play-Doh, because
that is a way to cheat, and some people, such as some people we work with.
Oh no, I'm labelling him. Murdo cheated. 100% cheated. He couldn't even tell what his stuff was because he didn't put enough Play-Doh in.
Yeah,
I call you out, Murdo.
Yeah.
I'm calling you out. Yeah. But if you don't scrimp, then you get all of them, and then just smushing them is a sheer delight.
It is
absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
And I was buzzing about it when we played it. I'm still buzzing about it now.
It's kind of like the combat is like joyously binary. So like long range attacks, like it's you have to roll more hits than their defense. If you do that, you kill them. If you don't, that's fine. It was just like
then you carry on.
You carry on. If it's hand to hand combat, however, if you don't roll more attacks than their defense, you get squished. So
it's just everything just builds up to that joyousness of squishing.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate, like, if you play 100 games of it, then you might not find as much joy in squishing. But I feel like I would always find joy in squishing. I think
you always would. I think it would become increasingly more tactical because the blobs of Play-Doh that you've squished become terrain. So you have to, like, I'm sure there's a tactic where you send in a wave of small enemies and then you hide like long-range things behind them.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm sure there must be something like that where you can basically create a little funnel, a death funnel, for your enemies. So it's a surprisingly tactical war game for what it is. It uses like a dice allocation thing. So you roll some dice, you apply some walking and some fighting to different monsters, so then you get to move all of that type of monster, then it's the next person's go to do the same thing.
Yeah, like they're legit. It's a legit game with mechanics. Like, I appreciate I'm excited about the squishing.
Yes, yeah.
But it is a legit game and a really good way to be playing quite a tactical game without necessarily even realising that you're doing
That's
it.
Yeah.
Because you're too distracted by...
Speaking of not realising that you're doing it, we arrived quite late to meet our friends in Wales on Friday. We arrived quite late. And so put the babies to bed and all that sort of stuff. And I said, do you just want to have a look at this? Because it's kind of funny. Like, have a go at making some of these. And then, before we knew it, we were having like a 4-player game, which is just hilarious. A two-player game's pretty good, but when you've got more people than you really should have at the table on the tiny battle mat thing, it's really good because it's just chaos. And the carnage is incredible. But they basically, my friends, they just sort of went into it with a good heart. Yeah. And then very much were just ready to play immediately after they'd started making the stuff. Yeah. And that was all it took. That's all it took to convince them to. If I'd sat down and said, "Hey, do you want to play a tactical war game?" Where we have to actually measure things out, and then like we just win by rolling dice at each other. Yeah. People would probably say, "No, Chris, I don't want to do that."
Yeah, I feel like I was tricked into playing a war game.
I'm not a nerd, they'd say. And I'd say, "Yes, you are, but in a different way."
We all are.
That's Necromolds. We think it's really good, and you should definitely pick it up. It'll be a great Christmas present.
This was the thing, like we played it and I immediately then Googled it to be like, right, can I get it in time for Christmas? Can I give it to one of the
You may just be able to, but you will have to, currently you have to get it imported. That's
the problem, is the shipping costs. And it's generally the problem right now is shipping costs. Yeah. But
there's meant to be like a worldwide release, like retail release. Yeah. But it's might not happen this year.
Understandable.
But it's it's fine. But I have on good word from Clint that if you email him, he'll at least work it out for you.
Okay.
And give you the numbers and what it will cost you to get it sent over.
Nice.
So yes, a creator we should all support, I think, because it's not often you get a game like this that's this silly. This is the kind of game that Restoration Games would remake.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like this is a like a silly kids game that's a bit too good. Yeah. That everyone would have really fond memories over, and it is an exercise in nostalgia in trying to make like a crap 90s toy. It's full of like goo and slime and stuff. Yeah. That you push the brain and stuff comes out the nose. Not sure what that one was. That's the one I had.
I don't know.
Anyway, so there's that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's Necromolds. Do you want to say anything more about it?
The only thing I was like, the only frustration that I think I had with it was difficulty in working out which monsters were which. Because initially, at least, while you're trying to work out this is the one that looks a little bit like a horse, but then the picture on the cards wasn't as easy to dictate that was.
I mean,
so I will be honest, there are drawbacks to it. But if you're playing with a group of kids and you make it as like accessible as possible,
I mean, I will say we also played with like all of the expansions straight away, so all of the extra monsters. And if we'd played like the base game, which is kind of what I reviewed, it'd be much easier because there's only 3 monsters in the base game.
Oh, I can handle that.
Yeah, whereas we had 8 or 9 different varieties to choose from.
Yeah, something like that. There were a lot in there,
and some of them more complex.
Of them had 2.
Yeah, some of them are like veggie toad.
Veggie toad.
Or fungix, which I can't remember which one.
Really cool little constructs. That's really fun.
Yeah, they are very nice. So yeah, Necromolds.
Necromolds.
Charlie's favourite war game of the month.
Of the year.
Probably is of the year.
Probably my favourite war game, actually.
Yeah. Should we move on from 3D molds to 3D molds?
3D molds!
And talk about Catan 3D
the pitch
edition.
was, right, I've got Catan, but how about we make it taller? That's what's happened here.
Yeah.
And then let's make it like, what, £300?
It is allegedly £300 at an RRP level. So it will be cheaper for you in the shops, but it's a crazy thing. And this was Charlie's first time playing Catan?
Yeah, again, so go big or go home. The thing is, though,
what do you think of Catan?
Well, there's a lot to this, right? So the problem with Catan is that everybody's played Catan. So when I then got into board gaming and tried to play it with my friends, their logic was, no, we've already played it, there are better games, there are other games, we've moved past Catan. So I've never played it, and I've always had a bit of imposter syndrome about it, that this is everyone's gateway game, and I've never played it. So Chris produces a 3D version of Catan, like, do we want to play this? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? Yeah. And honestly, it's delightful. I understand why it's a gateway game. Would I pay £300 for a version of Catan? I'm not so sure. But I can see why sort of the diehards would, I think. And I can also see why Catan has got such staying power.
So should we describe what you get in the box?
Yes.
You get lots of new hexes, lots of the same hexes that you get in the base game.
Yeah.
But they're all 3D printed.
All, like, textured.
Lovely textured.
Raised.
Maybe hand painted, I would say.
Oh, that would make sense for the price tag.
Yeah.
I don't know for certain, but
they look probably hand painted, I would say, because they're quite nicely painted, I think.
Yeah, they are nice.
And
they're not like massively tall. You're talking like what? What's that? That's like a mountain.
Yeah, an inch and a half or something.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Yeah, so mountains are only inch and a half, and it sounds like we're doing it down. It's obviously much more 3D and thematic than the normal Catan box. You get some nice little cities and roads and things, which are also 3D printed.
Yeah.
3D shapes. So gone are the wooden blocks of things. Instead, you have like roads that have got cobbles on them and things like that.
Yeah.
It's very amusing. All the tokens have been replaced by plastic tokens as well, which are also very nice. And that's all good.
Yeah.
It's
very pleasant. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And I think one of the major problems we had with it, however, was that the readability of it is slightly worse than a flat board.
Yep.
Especially as I was teaching to 3 people who had never played Catan actually, and I hadn't actually played Catan I think it's probably been like 5 years until the other week since I last played Catan, and it reminded me of why it was so good, which is that it reminds me that you're meant to play Catan and the game's meant to last a very long time because you're having some beers and arguing about what you're going to trade with people. Well, we were obviously playing a slightly higher pressure situation of need to get through in a lunchtime.
Yeah.
But
learn to play, get a game out,
yeah.
one lunch.
Yeah. And so, do we like it?
I liked it, but I would still be perfectly happy with paying like 15 quid for a base set of Catan instead.
Yeah. I feel like, again, Catan's one of those games where it's like, maybe get the travel version.
Yeah.
I'd be totally cool with the little version. People tell me also that you should also only play with the Seafarers expansion.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, considering this is my first Catan hooray, I don't know. We did a really interesting thing a little while ago, though, on the different expansions, didn't we? So I read through those. But in terms of which ones are best and such, I don't know. And then also, the other thing is, will those expansions work with the 3D?
I mean, I think everything's about the same size.
Yeah.
So I think it would work. It would just be a bit weird. I imagine they'll be doing 3D versions of the expansions as well, maybe on shorter runs or something
Maybe.
like that. We'll see. I guess we'll see how it goes. I liked it for the pictures I took of it.
It looked cool.
Yeah. But I can't, like, honestly, in my heart, this isn't like the Descent thing, right? This isn't like would someone pay 170 quid for this? And my answer was, yeah, that'd be kind of okay. Because you do that for a Kickstarter, for everything you get in the box. This is kind of like an upgrade kit to your basic Catan.
Yeah. But a game that you've already got.
Yeah. And I like it, but I like it because it's Catan.
Yeah.
It didn't make things so much better. That I would definitely recommend it to everyone. Yeah.
And I'm gonna do a video on it and compare the two, because I've had a look at the inside of normal Catan, but as we say, my only experience is 3D Catan. So it might be that I look at normal Catan and I'm like, well, this is dreadful. I completely understand why.
Well, it must be 3D.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
3D is the way forward, but I do like. I feel like this was like an Etsy. Do you know what I mean? That someone has poured a lot of love into creating, and therefore, because they spent hours on it, it's £300.
You could go on to Etsy and buy a 3D Catan that people would make. One of our contributors, Matthew Vernal, his partner, she made him a clay one.
Oh, cute!
A clay Catan.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's cute, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's good. And so he's basically got. So when I mentioned it to him, he said, "Yeah, I've got one of them. I've got one made for me."
Yeah, see, this is the thing.
And it's just like, but
as a production, it feels weird. I think is where I'm at. Is that it's not that it's not a delight to have, because it absolutely is. And would it make a perfect Christmas present for a Catan player? Yes, but it feels like it's an Etsy project rather than something that is mass produced.
Yeah.
And then the choice being smaller because it's handcrafted, whereas this is then mass produced.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can get my head around it yet.
Yeah, it is a bit tricky. I feel like it's an absolute must-buy for, if you run a local game shop where
it'd be delightful to
want to leave a game out.
Although, would it be robust enough?
Yeah, I think they're pretty solid. Yeah, I think so. And you want people to come around, and I think it might even be better because you can spill beer on it and wipe it clean.
Don't do that.
So yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
But also it would be fine.
Yeah.
So we've got mixed feelings about Catan 3D.
Yeah.
Or Big Catan.
Big Catan.
So, shall we move on?
We shall.
I would like to I'd like to lower the tone even further, the mood even further, not the tone.
What is happening?
From one game of hexes to another game that includes hexes, which is Seven Moons, which I very briefly just want to talk about because it's attempted to do something noble, and while I gave it a maybe in the magazine and quite a cold maybe in the end, I feel it's worth just a little thing to put into people's heads, which is, can we make roll and move good?
Okay.
That's my question for you. Roll and move is where you roll some dice and you move the number on the dice. And we all think it's bad because of Monopoly. But could it be good?
Yeah.
This game tries to do that. It's a 1 to 4 player game. It's called Seven Moons Heroes of Dragon Reach.
It's got a cool name.
Yeah. You are going to move across a hex grid using some dice rolling, and then you're going to do things like buy a horse to roll 2 dice, or get a dragon to roll 2 dice, but also fly over things.
The same as there you go.
Horses
a dragon is an upgrade to a horse.
It definitely is. Yeah, you can't carry quite as much on the dragon apparently. I guess because you drop things, or dragons don't want to. I'm not sure. It's got some interesting little sort of pseudo RPG mechanics, like if you stop in the wilderness, i.e. not on a road, you have to roll for whether you get robbed. Your goal is generally to...
Funny, that's simple.
Yes, yeah. You go to different parts of the the map to go to different places to get things like wood and steel and stuff like that, and then you go to the central city, which I believe is called Dragon Marsh.
Makes sense.
Or maybe that is Dragon Reach. Can't remember. You go there to sell them in the market for the value on the dice, on the market dice, and then once you've sold them, you re-roll those dice, ruining it for everyone else. And that bit of the game is really funny. So the economic puzzle is really funny. The idea that you're basically racing back to ruin the market for everyone else, because they're all heading back with their steel that's currently worth 5 gold, but when you re-roll it, it might be worth 1. That's funny. But ultimately, it does all boil down to, you just have dud turns where you roll 2 and you're like, okay,
great,
that's it.
Yeah.
You know. But so the question I'm putting out there is, because it is a noble attempt, and you know the game looks kind of nice. I kind of want to like run an RPG on the map of it. You could like literally do that. I think that'd be quite a funny thing to do. But these are all things that aren't the game. Oh, sorry, and also I should just mention for those who are interested in the game, it's a 2-part game where the second part is cooperative. So once the Moonrise track, the Shadow Army heads up the Moonrise track. Once they hit the top Moonrise value of 7 or something, you then go into the second phase, which is where you are playing out cards from the Shadow deck, 2 of which you already know, which is kind of like a kind of like hidden agenda thing almost. So everyone gets like 2 cards at the start, and then you shuffle them together at the end to form the deck. Right. So you know something of what's coming, but not everything. But you can infer it from other people. There's lots of interesting ideas, right? But that end thing is basically a tower defense thing where you roll some dice based on the number of allies you've accrued in your city and defenses, and you roll them all together. The total value needs to beat the realm score, and then you have a like individual city score, which just uses your own dice. Okay. Yeah. So quite cool. And if you get an extra dice if you've got like a matching ally type. Right. That's useful. And it's fine. We couldn't lose that last round. We tried a few times, and we just couldn't lose in any way. Interesting. Yeah. So we think it's not been balanced. That last round's not been balanced properly in some way. So and that's kind of like the problem with the whole thing, which is it's not quite as polished. And it's from Gunpowder Studios, who we quite like a lot. We like Bag of Dungeon. We think that's like a fun. I thought they were Bag of Dungeon. That's a really fun attempt at a roguelike on the tabletop, and it sort of leans into the ACI art or ASCII art of those games. So I say art, just the ASCII presentation of those games. And in that, it embraces the randomness and all this sort of stuff. Here, that randomness is detrimental to having fun. So yeah, there we go. If you're listening to us at home and you can think of a roll and move game that you love, please write in. Let us know. And from there, we're talking about gaining allies. We're going to talk about Charlie's new allies. I'm obsessed. In the form of Pokemon. It's a long time coming, really, isn't it? Like, I'm surprised I held out this long. As someone who loves collectible stuff and, like, being able to unwrap stuff and unbox things, it seemed very much this is the perfect foray for me, is to head into the Pokemon trading card game. And my entire knowledge of Pokemon comes from either playing digital games, which are very different, or from the Pokemon Battle Academy, which I stand by as one of the best teacher games that I've seen, I've played. And yeah, that's basically it. I decided after a couple of chats in the office, we all sort of went, well, actually, we kind of want to let's do Pokemon. So there's now 4 of us. We have Trading Card Tuesdays, which I said jokingly, but is now becoming a thing. And I've just bought a ton of Pokemon cards, and I'm just enjoying opening them and understanding them. And there's a bit of a mixture. So on the one hand, it's a very welcoming community. On the other hand, you do get the gatekeeping, which I'm really nervous around because, well, it's not fun. It's a bit boring. Not fun, no. But most of the people I've reached out to have been utterly delightful. So I am sort of going through stuff. I'm popping it all on YouTube. I will get better at working out how to do the YouTube videos in a format that's nice because I'm still playing about with it. But I'm having a delightful amount of fun. Yeah. Just trying to work out what on earth is going on. So, I've come in at celebrations as well, so Yes, it's a good time.
It's a good time.
It's a good time. So yeah, I can see here you've got a box of celebrations. I'm not talking about the Christmas chocolates.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the 25 years of Pokemon.
I've got an Elite Trainer box, and I've also got the Dark Sylveon box.
Yeah.
And I'm going to unbox those today, I think.
Yeah, Charlie's going to rip into those today, and that's quite exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the gatekeeping part that you're talking about is particularly interesting because we sort of talked about this as a thing because you're a woman.
Yes, there's a certain amount of it. I think Pokemon is actually one of the more accessible ones for being a woman. I've talked to you before about walking into any local game stores or walking into local game stores, and not all of them are as welcoming as others, which is why I'm always so excited when the ones are. And that's the same I find with this side of things, is commenting on things in like Facebook groups, for example, and the responses you get aren't necessarily fun because you've asked a question or because you don't know. But then on the other hand, you'll reach out to people and go, hey, I'm starting out. And they're like, oh my goodness, let me tell you this. I'm going to work on this and you can have this. It's like, that's a lot of effort. That's really appreciated. But what I like is everyone's got sort of a passing knowledge of Pokemon. So I can talk about quite a lot of it, even though there's so many that I don't recognise, so many Pokemon that I'm not familiar with. I know the originals, and then I came back in at...
Can I say, it feels like they're making them up at this point.
I mean, the naming choices on some of them are a bit questionable, but I think they always have been. But I know sort of from like Sun and Moon... Actually, no, a little bit before that.
Yeah.
But mostly Sun and Moon onwards I'm familiar with. So it's... What I found fascinating, though, is then talking about this in the office, is we had one person who plays Magic, but is now like, oh, actually, I'll try on Pokemon. One person who's just interested in opening and finding out what stuff is, but he always did the stickers.
Yes, this is Murdo again.
This is Murdo again.
Who we should just have on the podcast eventually, because I think it'd be quite interesting to just talk to Murdo about what he thinks about a lot of these things. Because,
he's like on the outside but looking in.
Yeah.
And then we also discovered that Charlotte Bamford, is our like resident Pokemon expert.
She is.
So we've gone from not really discussing Pokemon necessarily to it being like a morning catch-up, lunchtime catch-up, end of the day catch-up. Yeah. And I am loving it.
It's a bit of a cult in the office. I've not joined in with this because I really don't have the disposable cash to throw at.
I shouldn't be throwing the disposable. The only thing that makes me feel better as I'm doing that thing that we did during lockdown where it's like support local business, and I'm like, that's my excuse, is I'm not just buying it for me, I'm also buying it from friendly local game stores, which means I'm supporting local industry in my... It's
but
totally allowed.
That does mean that there's a very culty sort of like, oh, there's a new drop coming at the friendly local game store who gets stuff in like on order basically and stuff like that. And so there's like the conversations in the office are very much like shipping in something illicit into the country, or something like that. Like it's really hard to get hold of.
It is really hard to get hold of.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And
I was very cross because Murdo got his the day before I got mine. Yeah. That was totally unfair. I'm more excited.
And yes, this is like the tone of the office. And it's very good. It's very good. It's been a long time.
It's interesting because we've been talking about like the different reasons people are getting into the Pokemon. So there's the sort of from the I want to buy these so that I can sell these cards on perspective. There's the I want to play this game perspective, and then there's I just sort of like the cards perspective. Yeah. And I was chatting about this with my other half and was like, I'm clearly like I want to play. I want to be able to create a deck from the stuff that I've made, and the whole point of it will be to play. But I also like having lots of them. I like having all the different artwork and seeing the multiples, and I like this. It's like I'm not really sure where I fit. And he just turned to me and he was like, "You're the person that just likes opening stuff."
Yeah.
He was like, that's what you like. If you like open it and be like, oh, I've got this and I've got this. That's where your excitement comes in. And I was like, I am perfectly poised with the amount of unboxings that I do. Actually, this is almost like a personality trait at this point.
I think it's is maybe the best bit.
Yeah.
Like it's fun to like build decks and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I really like the thinking about decks thing. I think that's what I like about trading card games, or did when I had time to invest in them in that kind of way. But I think the opening and getting something cool, which is very much on the end of like having an encyclopedic knowledge of stuff. Yeah,
this was my very first thing. Is that if I pull something cool from an ETB, I'm not gonna know. I
don't know what.
I spent too long with BAM. If I pull something cool from an Elite Trainer box, because I got the Shining Fates training box first.
Everyone at home probably knew that, but
this is the thing, like I'm doing my videos for it because I'm going to track as I go through, sort of learning more and more and asking more and more questions, and that's a lot so that people can tell me stuff because I want to learn from people, and this is me going, I don't know what I'm doing, but please help. Is that like, if I get something good, am I going to know that it's good? Aside from the fact that, hey, this looks great.
Well, yeah, I mean, I suppose the question is, what's good? And that comes back to the thing of, I mean, you're just happy to have it, aren't you?
Which is, well, yes, it is. But at the same time, it's nice to know I've got something cool. This is why I've brought Bam in a couple of times. Yeah. And I'm determined to do so more because she's wonderful. Just to be like, right, you tell me if this is good. It's like Murdo had one of it was like a gold one. I can't remember what it was. And he's just like, oh, I've got this. And bam, lost it. I was like, I can't believe you've got something really good and you're not even excited about it. And we were like, didn't know it was good, to be honest.
He's a very relaxed man.
I mean, he's very chill in general, but he had got something cool. But yeah, it's starting from scratch and being really excited about it. I am buzzing for this. So yeah, journey's going to be tracked. I'm going to do videos with unboxings. I'm going to try and talk about it. I'm going to try and work out the best ways to get into stuff. Because like at the moment, I'm a couple of boxes in. I still haven't got enough to play a deck, which is interesting.
Oh, you definitely... Oh, because you don't have enough energies and stuff?
Not energies. Things like... So the recommendation online was something like you need like up to 20 trainer cards.
Right, for like a competitive deck.
Yeah, so for example, I have a ton of trainer cards from them, but some of them are specific. So this will work on your Vaporeon, for example. But I don't have a Vaporeon, so there's no benefit to me having that in my deck. Not yet.
You've got a low synergy collection.
Not yet. But I have bought Sylveon deck, and then I've bought the tins for... Well, I'm getting the tins for Christmas, because it's nearly that time where I can start, like, front-loading my...
Yes, right.
Here's all the gaming stuff that I would like this year.
Yeah. Should we do that now, actually? Should we do...
What, a Christmas wish list?
What is our...
Family, are you listening?
Yeah, what is our recommendations to buy us for Christmas?
Mine is just Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
Pop down the shops, £3.50.
Yeah.
Well, depends which ones you get, but on a good day, £3.50.
Yeah. I think I want some brushes to paint some miniatures.
Oh, interesting.
I think I like some fresh brushes, because I've been using some really rank old ones.
I kind of wanted a kit. I can't remember who I was talking to about it. I want like a large size model. So like, you know, the D&D ones, for example, from WizKids. Like we're not talking tiny miniatures.
This is exactly
I want like a proper one.
This is exactly my route.
Where it gives me all of the paints that I need and the brush, and then step by step it's like, right, first of all do this, first of all do that, because I don't know the first thing about painting miniatures. I've got a friend that does. I'm going to message him and be like, do you want to teach me, please?
You should. I keep watching little videos now, getting into it.
Good. It's exciting.
It's kind of weird. So, yeah. I've seen a new...
It's not weird at all.
I've seen a new base layer technique, which I think is going to be really good.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah. What they do, I can tell you what it is now. You get the black base coat, right? And then you do like a dry brush white highlight on the bits that you want to stand out in a sort. If you want to do like a pseudo comic book superhero-y look.
Right.
And that means then when you start putting layers on that,
you
come through lighter from those bits and darken the recesses and stuff like that.
Sounds like it makes sense.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because I've come at it from a very different place, and now I'm at a point where I'm actually trying to learn things like blending. Blending, that's fun.
That's interesting.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not.
I mean, I don't know these things.
Yeah.
I enjoy them. Like, so Luke in our office will often come in and tell us about new techniques and new ways to paint stuff or new things he's done. Because we got excited, didn't we, about magnets? Yeah. When we put magnets on the bases of his stuff, and we were like, this is a great idea.
I've just remembered I meant to bring that box in for him. I keep forgetting. Keep leaving it at home. Okay.
I have left him with my Conquest dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for... I'm excited when they come back.
So what Luke does is he's got a sort of magnetic plate or something, basically, which is probably like a craft shop thing. He sticks that at the bottom of basically a lunchbox.
Yeah.
And then his miniatures, he puts a tiny little bit of metal, I don't know, like, what would you even call it? A blob of metal.
It's magnetic.
Yeah, magnetic.
And it sticks.
And then he just glues that to the bottom under the base, because they're sort of like raised or whatever. And then they all just stay perfectly in place when you're travelling, and you have none of the stuff that I worried about as a kid, taking my Warhammer around and stuff like that, was just, it doesn't smash up and you don't lose the pointy bits and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So It's really, really smart. I thought
This
it was
is really obvious.
really-
We were so
Yeah.
excited by it. We were like,
Yeah.
we should have thought of this.
We were literally sitting there saying, like, do other people do this? And he was like, yes, everyone does it. I'm like, is this way we can't market this and put it on Kickstarter? And he's like, no, everyone does it. So yes, yeah, that was it. So we've sort of rambled off the cliff here, haven't we?
We did very well till that point, though.
Yeah,
We've come off topic at the very end rather than
yeah.
the entire way through, which is our general
So
MO.
I feel like we've caught them all in this podcast.
There's always more to catch.
Yeah, there are, and I don't get them. I don't understand them. I gave up on what's the second generation, like silver and gold.
Oh God, it's gone out of my head now.
I think that's the one I stopped at in terms of playing the Game Boy games.
I mean, I'm watching Mossie's history of Pokemon cards.
Right.
I feel like the second set was something like Jungle and Forest, and I was like, that feels a bit more epic than the colours that we get now.
Oh, I see.
I know we've gone Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield, but like
Yeah.
X and Y, great. What does that even mean?
Yeah. It sort of didn't mean anything. I think, was X and Y the third Game Boy generation?
I can't remember the order
Was
of
it?
them.
Was that Sun and Moon?
I played X and Y. Sun and Moon was the 3DS one.
Okay.
So you
Yeah.
jumped quite far forward with Sun and Moon.
Yeah.
Because that was where I came back into it.
Okay.
This is the thing. There's so many, and they're
Yeah.
not... They almost represent different areas of your childhood. And then trying to pick out...
Yeah.
At this point, I was playing this. But is that because it was cheap at a second-hand shop and I managed to pick it up? Or is that because it was the latest one that was out at that point? Like...
So I was the first kid to have Pokemon in our school
Oh, all right. Brag.
because we happened to be on holiday in America at the time it came out.
Nice.
And like when you were like, I don't know, whatever I was, 13 or whatever, it's just like, and this is back when the pound was worth something. So like you go to Walmart and it's like, this is all basically free. It's just like, this
I
is
miss those days.
this is a crazy place. Look at all this free stuff they have. This Game Boy game is free. And I spotted it and I was like, that looks all right. I remember playing it on my Game Boy and being really, really excited with it, and then making them go back to get my brother the other one, the red one.
Yeah.
I got blue, he got red. And we went back and got one. And I remember also the other thing is that I kept a little journal of what I'd caught.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah. And then I realised that I didn't need to do that
Yeah.
because the game does that.
Yeah. That's the whole point.
But yeah, I was like, I thought it was like the best thing ever, and then I returned to the British Isles 2 weeks later. And I was like, look at this, it's really cool. And everyone's like, yeah, I know, it's really mental. How have you got that?
Yeah.
Because they'd all actually, I think I'd missed the actual release of it or the announcements of it,
Right.
or like the fever
Yeah,
beginning. But I'd been blissfully on holiday
Yeah.
and picked
Managed
this,
it anyway.
but actually got it, because it was like a couple of months before it actually came out in the UK. So yeah, that was a really weird. That was my Pokemon experience.
Yeah.
Is just this like I actually had a really like pure couple of weeks of just like
Sheer enjoyment.
just actually enjoying the game.
Yeah.
And then before coming home and then realising, oh, you get a guide, argue with people about what's good,
Yeah.
all this sort of
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
like all the actual
Very
social
familiar.
stuff, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
good and bad. But yeah, there we go. And now we are fully off the reservation. We are it's Chris's story time.
This is what I mean, that Pokemon
he's sundowning.
has
Let's
a nostalgic
let's
link
wheel
for
him
everyone.
away.
Everyone's got a story about like how they came across Pokemon, and I love hearing them. Like they're usually such nice little stories.
Yeah.
I mean, mind you, it's just a consensus that my dad thought it was a fad, so refused to get Pokemon cards.
Interesting.
So I never had Pokemon cards until someone gave me a stack of energy cards, which I later then gave to somebody else because there's not a lot you can do with them.
No.
I'm making up games through energy cards, but there's nothing you can actually do with them.
No.
And now I do not let it drop that Dad thought Pokemon was going to go away.
Yeah.
And so for Christmas, guess what Dad's buying me?
That's right.
And I've been like, this is because you didn't do it when I was 6.
Yeah, you wouldn't have this problem now.
If I'd have collected them then, Dad.
So, thank you for joining us on this Tabletop Gaming Magazine podcast.
Thanks.
You can find us in all the usual places, tabletopgaming.co.uk. Our song Our song?
Our song?
Our song. The music for this episode and all episodes.
I thought you were going to launch into a musical version. I was like,
It is.
God, there was no planning for that.
It's by Body in the Thames, and it's called Cloud Meeting.
Put that on the agenda.
And you can get that on bodythethames.bandcamp.com.
Sure.
Yeah. It's on Bandcamp.
You look at me like,
You can get it on Bandcamp.
podcast is your deal.
Yeah.
You've got this.
Yeah.
Come find us on YouTube.
Yeah.
Search for Tabletop Gaming.
Charlie's on YouTube. Keep
That's
doing stuff.
the day that I'm having today. It's going to be a Pokemon field day. It's going to be a Catan field day. There's going to be some great stuff going on.
Yeah. It's going to be great.
Okay. I'm going to have fun even if no one else does. Any Pokemon tips, please do let me know on any of our socials at all. If you search Tabletop Gaming,
You'll find us. You'll find us.
And yeah.
And so, last thing I'd like you to ask all of you is to go to whatever system you have, whatever way of listening to this podcast you have. I'd like you to go there and find the maximum number of stars you can give us, and give us that many, and then also write us a lovely review that says something like, "They sound great."
Do you know what I'd love to see in a review? It's like, you know those old, like, when you write to the editor in magazines?
Okay, yeah.
I want to see
Dear
those
sir.
again. Yeah.
Dear sir.
Dear sir.
What would they say?
Well, it's to you, so it's dear sir, because I have got a right thing at the moment with people
Yes,
suddenly
you do.
deciding
Yes.
that my name is Charles and then
Yes,
addressing
but
me
out
as
of
dear
nowhere.
sir.
Out of nowhere.
There were like 3 in a week. It's like my face is in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Come on.
You've got one of those places that's on the internet.
It doesn't help that the contact form is to contact Charlie Pettit. Dear
Yeah.
Charles, no.
Why decide to do that?
I don't know, and it was 3 in a week.
Yeah.
But no, just a general something a bit different, because you read the reviews and reviews are absolutely wonderful, but like when you're looking at podcasts and you're like, should I pick this up? But they tend to say the same thing, because they do. So as something a bit different,
Yeah.
pop in your favourite Pokemon.
How about this? Write us an RPG table for items you find when opening a series of derelict Pokeballs found in your uncle's attic.
That sounds delightful. That's what I want to read.
Just a D6 table, that'd be great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. All right, there's your mission. Goodbye.